like went on like crusades against the Fallen. Like he would go out of his way to go kill like fallen colonies and like fuck them up so that they would never come back type shit. So they ended up fearing him and they called him like a demon. Um, so he's like, Saint 14 is kind of like the analog for like a robotic Master Chief.
Got it.
Or even like the Slayer from Doom. And that's why he kind of looks like he's got that Master Chief like silhouette. Where he's like real muscular and fucking, man, this thing blew me up from under the ground.
Oh shit.
So the Fallen, or the Lixni as they prefer to be called, essentially like they're Mandalorians, I would say. They're super duper techie, but they're like scavengers and they work for the highest bidder type shit. So like they're like the Jawas and the Mandalorians all at once. So they grow to fear that Saint 14 guy, and you know when the Fallen like the Fallen and the Vex season comes around, where the Fallen are trying to help us with this thing called the House of Light. Essentially, we meet up with this Fallen called Mithrax, and Mithrax is essentially he's like the leader of the Fallen that aren't enemies of the city. Because most Fallen, they either constitute themselves as Fallen, they're some kind of faction of Fallen. They're like devils, the kings, the wolves. They're factions of Fallen that follow one kind of captain, like a pirate.
Yeah.
And these
Oh,
factions,
shit.
they go around raising, you know, planets and shit. Just scavenging the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
So whenever they get to the point of like finding a bunch of ships that like follow them, they become Kells. And the Kells are like the captains, like the religious leaders, the guys who get the biggest type shit.
Yeah.
They get the most power, they get the most resources. So essentially the Fallen, whenever they come into the solar system, they all come as a united front to kind of like take back the Traveler from the humans. But when the Woken come out of their black hole, they find the Fallen and they fuck them up and they start kidnapping them and subjugating them. So that's how some Fallen end up working for the Woken Queen, as because I think it was the House Wolves that she stole essentially, and she prevented them from kind of meeting up with the unified front of all the Fallen Kells and ships and fighting the last city. So since they weren't able to unify and get their reinforcements, the Fallen that were at the last city got repelled, and then essentially that's how the last city kind of came to be. But since so many of the Fallen got killed there, that's how they ended up fearing Saint. And then when Saint became friends with Mithrax, Mithrax is essentially a Fallen that has big ties with the Awoken. He was like a Fallen like slave that kind of like lived on the Tangled Shore and in various places, and he was friends with this big Awoken chick called Zero Ido. She's basically like super Legolas of the Awoken. So Zero Ido is the person who wielded the Wish Ender, which is that bow that guy was using to look through the fucking through the walls when we were playing that one day. So the Wish Ender gets utilized by her, and she's the only one who could really like use it and draw it besides us. So essentially, Zoraida meets up with this fallen dude called Mithrax, and he kind of like becomes friends with her. And then over time, like they all become real friendly because they're all like subjects of the queen. But eventually, he escapes, and the wolf, the wolf, they call them houses. So the house of wolves, they escape and they try to steal Vex time technology, which is like a majority of like what usually tries to happen with most fucking races that are trying to like do a power bid or a break in trying to steal power. They try to steal Vex technology and you know utilize
Or
time
repurpose
to
it,
to repurpose it, right? So House of Wolves tried to repurpose the Vex, and they tried to, make it so that they didn't get waylaid by the Queen, so that they could go and meet up with the
Well done, Guardian.
forces, the
You'll
unified
reform.
forces,
Thank you.
and
That was
beat
lit.
the
We are
beat
to
the city so
survive
they
the
can
coming
steal the
storm.
Traveler.
The tower
So
and
that's
the
how
city
House of
must
Wolves
stand
happened in
united.
Destiny 1.
We'll hold the
So after
blind
we
world
stopped
together.
that,
As we open more
essentially
ley
like
lines,
history
we can
kept
start
the way it
exfiltrating
needed
our
to be.
lost Techians. Once my coven is reassembled, we'll
Eventually,
exorcise Savathun's worm and put an end
yeah, the
to her
Wolf Tone Girl, it's
lies
pretty good. Just check it out.
once and for all.
After the Fallen got waylaid and we stopped them from altering history, whenever the Taken King came through to the fucking to the solar system and fucked up the Awoken, the Fallen that were subjugated by the Queen essentially escaped from her captivity, and they went off in a bunch of different directions. So they either started up or restarted up a bunch of houses. Do it. Go for it, Will. Go
Do
to
what?
helm. Go to the helm.
What
So the helm is under destinations.
Gotcha.
So the fallen that escaped from the Queen's control, they went off in different directions, and they either restarted up houses or they kind of went like rogue type shit. The ones that restarted houses, either they went back to the houses that they lived in before, which is like the Devils, the Kings. Those are houses that are non-friendlies. Or they started up some new houses like